children can dramatically change the dynamic of any marriage.
That is so true.
It is true.
Most people assume that when a couple has kids, the kids automatically become the #1 priority in the relationship. But is that always true?
Let me tell you, I've been with my husband 22 years, married 18, and we had a kid 10 years into that relationship, right? I think something like that. Just maybe 6 years into being married.
She's 12.
She's 12.
So if you do the, right.
Right. But here's the thing. It took me a while to understand that I have to put my husband first.
Interesting, because I feel like people take the hit for that.
Yeah.
For saying that.
I had to put my husband first because we are a unit, and for me, in our relationship, us being a unit first before dealing with a child was the way that it had to work. Because when I was just, parenting, and we're parenting separately, and this one, I know you got things to say. Oh, look at you, you can barely keep it in your mouth.
No, go
you
ahead,
can't keep it in your mouth.
Keep saying what you're saying.
She said it to me.
I remember I had to say to Frances at one point, I was like, you guys, you need to be united because Abby's playing you against each other.
She was.
And she doesn't even, it's a strategy. She's a smart child.
Yeah.
You got to watch your six. But like Tom, you were definitely, like Tom would do some parenting and then she would run to you for like comforting.
Yes.
And then you were the parent so Tom would say, don't do this. And then she'd come to you and you'd be like, it's okay, baby, I love you. And I was like, you got to be a team. Because I'm watching it.
Yes.
And I'm like, this child is playing you both.
Playing us both. And we had to, I had to, let me put it on myself. I had to figure out.
Because it was you.
It was me. It was me.
No, but I mean, it's tough to having to realize even like what role he is and how actually take a minute, sync up, and then go back out. But I think people are even talking more even about not neglecting that relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
As a relationship.
And you know what? Because what happens is that you can get really singularly focused on being a parent and not being in a marriage or being in as a family,
Right.
And so, that's
like I know a family that had the family bed for a really long time. Like a really long time. And to the point where you're like, do you remember having a relationship with your partner?
Exactly. Well, we asked our friends on social media, who comes first, your spouse or your kids? 35% of you said spouse, 65% said kids.
I find that interesting.
I find it really
But I do
interesting.
think that culturally speaking, it's not as cool to say your spouse.
Yeah.
Even though I think we're reading the question, like I think people hear the question more like, somebody's got a gun to your husband and to your kids, who do you pick? And that's not the way we're talking.
Right.
So we asked our neighbors the same question, and this is what you said. Take a look.
Who comes first, the spouse or the kids? Well, the spouse comes first. She is the CEO. The kids are right afterwards. They're like the junior vice presidents of this organization, but spouse comes first.
My kids, just because that's like a mini me, I got to make sure they're #1 all times.
I will have to say my spouse. Why? Because my children are grown and they have their own journey to live.
Came first the kids because the kids is your family, your blood, so it's different.
I do not have a spouse and I do not have children, so if I had to say what comes first, my dog or my boyfriend, it's my dog.
That is the right answer.
That is the
Which
right
I don't know why
answer.
it's not in here. It's always the dog.
Exactly. Well, joining us today is clinical psychologist Dr. Romi Mouhibian. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Mouhibian. So, what does it mean when you hear someone say to put their spouse first?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
I think what that means, especially when you have children, is making sure that you're respecting that unit, that you are a parenting unit, and that you're also, that your relationship is strong as well.
So like that thing that Frances was doing.
Absolutely.
Yes. But it took time. That didn't happen. Here's the thing about the whole situation. It doesn't happen automatically. We don't fall into those roles often automatically.
And if we're not thinking about it, if we're not aware of the process of change that happens when we have a child, it can be very natural and normal for you not to pay attention to the relationship anymore. And there can be a lot of problems that come with that.
Yeah, like what?
So for example, research shows that children flourish best when there is a strong parenting unit. Not when both parents are parenting separately, but when there's a strong parental unit. Because kind of like you guys were talking about, they can't play you against each other. Right. They're seeing, you're modeling how to respect a partner to them. And that's very important for when they grow up.
And here's my question. When you have two separate homes, you can still have that happen, right?
Absolutely, you can still have that happen. And I think even when one spouse is not in the picture, let's say it's a grandmother and a mother who are parenting, same thing. Having that relationship be strong and having that be a strong parenting unit is just as important.
I mean, I'm not in their unit in that way, if you will, before you even get any weird ideas.
You're unit adjacent.
I'm unit adjacent, but I have a rule with Abby where I'm like, look, your parents' rules apply with me also. You know, like I'm in that block. You know, don't even ask me what I think about it. But are there any ways in which a relationship, like when people start putting, what does it mean to put your kids first? And what are the ways that hurts a relationship when people say they're putting their kids first?
Right. So when I hear putting my kids first, I'm thinking more that you're just automatically doing what you think is best for the child without consulting the other person in the relationship. Right. And so what that can do, well, you can think, well, of course I'm going to do what's best for my child. What that can do is put the child in an interesting position where they now have to navigate, you know, dad said one thing, mom said another thing. How do I deal with this? Right. And a lot of kids developmentally aren't prepared or should be doing things like that, should be making decisions like that. So, you know, that can create problems for the child down the line.
If you're choosing when to have a child, right? If you're planning, is there a point where you can have a child too early in a relationship?
You know, I don't think there's a timeline, right? So there is no specific time when it's going to be okay to have a kid and then you're going to be the perfect parent.
Right.
I think what's most important is continually having that awareness and talking about it in the relationship before the child comes along, and after the child comes along, continue having that open dialogue about how your roles are changing, how you can be a better parenting unit in front of the children, and when you're alone, how to keep that relationship alive.
Yeah, what are some things people can do to keep that relationship alive or in the forefront, if you will?
Yeah, and it can be hard, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day. So it really comes down to very little things. It comes down to doing the dishes for your partner. It comes down to maybe making breakfast for your partner.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Right? Just telling them, hey, you're beautiful, I love you, giving them a kiss in the morning. In front of the child too. Connecting, having those meaningful moments.
Yeah. You know, it's like, whenever you get married and people have kids, it's really, you know, there's a huge thing that everybody goes through, and again, it's not natural to fall into those places. You do have to think about it.
It's work. It's work.
Right? That's the word.
Yeah.
It's work.
It's work, but it can be very rewarding work, and you can actually grow a lot stronger as a couple from it.
Me Time with Frangela.